right, what we have here is a Saint Albray, and Saint Albray is a wonderful washed rind cheese that's also bloomy rind. It's shaped in a shape of a flower, and each of the pieces look like a flower petal. And as I mentioned, this is a combination. This is a bloomy rind, like a brie, and it's a washed rind, like a Munster. So it gives you a combination of both. The beautiful buttery flavor that you get from a brie, from a double creme, and also the intensity of the nuttiness that you would get from like a Munster. But it's much milder. This is actually a much milder cheese than both of them. Gives you a wonderful earthy flavor, also the butterness that you get from this beautiful rind. All right. So looking at pairing with this, you know, you got a couple things. Because of the butteriness and also because of the intensity, the nuttiness that you have from this cheese, you need something that can kind of cut through it. And Chateau Ste. Michelle does a wonderful Riesling. This Riesling is kind of like a passion fruit, maybe a little pineapple. I get a little peach out of there, but it has a mineral capability, that earthiness. And again, when we look at the earthiness, we look at the nuttiness that we have here, maybe a hint of mushroom on the far end. But that's what makes these two work so well. Sweetness in the passion fruit, butteriness of the cheese, yummy. I mean, just works very well together. If you're not a big fan of white wine, we can look at Louis Jadot does a great Beaujolais Village. This is a Gamay, and it's got a wonderful ripe fruit to it. Really minor in the intensity of fruit, but this isn't a big buttery cheese. Now you look at something that's a triple creme, it's got a lot of butter, it's really going to be something that you fight against, but this doesn't. This has got a nice buttery flavor with the earthy tones, and this being a Gamay has that nice earthiness, so they blend real well together. You get a nice pairing from both, they accent a little bit, and also brings out a little bit more of the nuttiness. If you're looking for something with a little bit more intensity, Ravenswood has a wonderful Zinfandel, and this Zinfandel, don't confuse that with the white Zin. This is a red Zin, a lot of intense berry flavors, blackberry, maybe a little bit of black cherry on the far side, but you know, keep in mind that we're looking at the nice berry and the butter. Berry, butter, a little bit of nuttiness. All right, so with that, we don't want it to overpower. So that's the thing about the Ravenswood, is it gives you the power of a Zinfandel, but it doesn't really overpower the buttery flavor, the subtletyness of the nuts. They blend really well together. And that makes for a really nice wine and cheese pairing. All right, now what we can do is we can take this wonderful Saint Albray, the richness of the buttery flavor, the nice nuttiness that you get, a hint of nuttiness, and then again, you get that hazelnut, that little bit of intensity, sharpness, maybe a hint of bitterness that you get from this. And it works very well with the Newcastle Brown. The Newcastle Brown is malty. You look at the malty flavor, you look how the butteriness, malt and butter, it almost turns into almost a little bit of a caramel flavor. But remember that you have the intensity at the end of this with that hazelnut. So butter, hazelnut, and the maltiness absolutely win. Just gives you a nice balance. Now, if you're looking for something a little lighter, we have the Blue Moon. The Blue Moon is a Hefeweizen style, or wheat beer. It's mild, it's got a little bit of sweetness with the wheat. It's not overpowering at all. Blends really well with the earthiness of this cheese when you think about the sweetness of wheat, the carbonation. Now there is that butter, so that carbonation kind of helps clean the palate, gives you a fresh taste when you're working with this. And keep in mind that we're working with a bloomy rind that's washed, which gives you that combination of a nice double creme brie with some of the characteristics of a very mild Munster. So I was looking at beer pairings. This gives you a nice choice between the two. And remember that in any pairing that you have, you want to, kind of start off with something that you really like. If you're not a big fan of the wheat or the malty, that wouldn't be a good place to start. And again, this is a little bit more of robust cheese, but that's what makes this fun, is taking these different or intense flavors and merging them together. So this would be a really fun, enjoyable beer pairing.